We are going to be imposing a 25% increase. We're going to bring it from 25% to 50% the tariffs on steel into the United States of America, which will even further secure the steel industry in the United States.
The steel and aluminum tariffs, which have been imposed, are a uniquely bad policy. They're a uniquely bad policy because 50 times as many workers work in industries that use steel and aluminum as work in the steel and aluminum industry.
I didn't vote for the current administration, and I just don't think my representatives grasp the full impact of what these tariffs do to steel manufacturers.
Welcome back to the channel, where we dive deep into the headlines the mainstream media wants you to forget by next week. Today's story hits right at the heart of American industry, workers, and the economy. And if you care about jobs, fairness, and economic honesty, you're going to want to stick around. The American steel industry, once hailed as the backbone of U.S. manufacturing, is taking a massive hit, not from foreign competition this time, but from within. Donald Trump has renewed and expanded tariffs on imported steel in a move he claims will protect American jobs. But what we're seeing on the ground tells a very different story. Steel dealers from coast to coast are sounding the alarm. Prices are skyrocketing, supply chains are in chaos, and once loyal Trump supporters in the industry are now bitterly complaining that they've been sold out. It's not just Democrats who are frustrated. Business owners, laborers, and even red state manufacturers are starting to ask, is Trump wrecking what's left of American industry in the name of patriotism? As always, a massive shout out to the creators and journalists doing the heavy lifting. Credit goes to Reuters, Bloomberg, The Wall Street Journal, and countless independent reporters on Substack, Medium, and TikTok who have been covering these economic impacts with clarity and urgency. You make this kind of truth-telling possible.
We are going to be imposing a 25% increase. We're going to bring it from 25% to 50% the tariffs on steel into the United States of America, which will even further secure the steel industry in the United States. Nobody's going to get around that.
So this is much worse than you may think. He's not doing it just to steel, he's doing it to steel and aluminum. Canada produces nearly 13 million tons of steel annually. It exports 90% of that steel to the US. It also puts Donald Trump in a very tough scenario because he's going to cause inflation, since nearly 1/4 of all the steel that gets imported into the US comes from Canada. Now, the place that's going to be hit the hardest, it's going to be Hamilton, and it's going to hurt Stelco and other steel companies significantly. Aluminum is just as bad. Canada produces about 3.3 million tons a year. Of that, the steel that the US imports from Canada, they get more than half of it from us. In fact, nearly 90% of Canada's aluminum exports go to the US. And the place that's going to get hit the hardest, it's going to be Quebec. Now, the UK was hit with tariffs after Canada. Canada and Mexico were the first to be hit with them. But the UK was able to secure a deal with the United States and create a scenario where both parties were happy. Canada has yet to negotiate anything, and this is now becoming an issue of the utmost importance, which needs to be dealt with immediately. Mark Carney has not addressed this at all. He has not addressed it head on, and he needs to start actually dealing with it and negotiating a deal directly with Trump's administration, because this would result in nearly 150,000 jobs that would be affected. Nearly 40,000 directly in those industries, steel and aluminum, and there's over 100,000 indirectly that get affected by this.
Tell me what it's going to mean for you to have a 50% tariff on steel.
Well, back in February, my steel prices were about 49.50 cents a pound. Right now, they're at about 68 cents a pound. And what that equates to in the product that I manufacture, could be $1,600 to $1,800 just in increased cost of the material. And my customers aren't going to be very happy about that.
Not to get political here, but we can't disentangle politics from this. You're in a red state. Congress does have the ability to push back on the president, try to take back some of the authority on tariffs. I mean, he's got provisions he can use, national security, et cetera. But Congress does have the authority to assert itself. Are you putting any pressure, or do you have a message to your representative in Congress?
You know, being so ingrained in a red state, I feel like my voice isn't heard. I didn't vote for the current administration, and I just don't think my representatives grasp the full impact of what these tariffs do to steel manufacturers.
The steel and aluminum tariffs, which have been imposed, are a uniquely bad policy. They're a uniquely bad policy because 50 times as many workers work in industries that use steel and aluminum as work in the steel and aluminum industry. So even if you protect a few jobs or a certain number of jobs in steel and aluminum, the jobs you lose in the downstream industries that have to compete are far more than any benefit you save in steel. One estimate found that it was more than $700,000 per job saved in burdens on consumers, and that's even before you get to the costs of the jobs lost in automobiles and construction. And Lydia Cox at Yale has done a hugely important study where she's looked at what happened with past steel tariff exercises when President Trump imposed it in the 2018 period. And what she found is that when you take the tariffs off, things don't go back, that people have disrupted their normal relationships, and so the damage to competitiveness is permanent, even from a temporary tariff increase.
Let's break it down. Trump's newly reimposed tariffs are aimed at imported steel, especially from countries like China, Mexico, and even close allies like Canada and South Korea. His administration claims these moves are about national security, but industry insiders are calling BS. Here's what's actually happening. American steel dealers and fabricators say they can't get enough domestic steel to meet demand, and what they can get is up to 40% more expensive than just weeks ago. Small manufacturers are especially vulnerable. Many say they may have to shut down because they can't afford to pass these costs on to customers. Contractors and construction companies are pausing major infrastructure projects. A Pennsylvania-based builder said, "We support American jobs, but not at the cost of going out of business." This isn't the first time tariffs have backfired. Back in 2018, Trump imposed similar steel and aluminum tariffs, and the U.S. economy lost more jobs than it gained because of the ripple effects in downstream industries like automotive, energy, and construction. But here's the twist. This latest round of tariffs comes just as American steel giants like Nucor and U.S. Steel are reporting record profits. Meanwhile, the smaller dealers and working-class suppliers, the very people Trump claims to champion, are being left behind. They're calling it economic betrayal. One dealer in Ohio said bluntly, "He's playing politics with our livelihoods." And it's not just about business, it's about broken trust. Many of these dealers supported Trump in 2016 and again in 2020. They bought into the MAGA promise of economic revival. But now, as inflation bites and steel chaos deepens, they're realizing that Trump's America First rhetoric might be costing them their future.
Trump's new tariffs got blocked, then brought back, and now 12 states are suing. And here's what happened. A federal judge struck down part of Trump's new steel tariffs. Wall Street cheered, stocks jumped, oil climbed, the dollar surged. Investors thought, hey, the trade war was finally cooling off. Hey, but hold on. Just days later, an appeals court stepped in and temporarily reinstated the tariffs while the case plays out. And now, 12 states, every one of them blue, are suing Trump directly. They claim he abused his emergency powers by bypassing Congress to raise tariffs. But Trump's team, well, they said that national security concerns gave him every right to act and that the law backs him up. Let's get this straight. A federal judge blocks the tariffs. An appeals court then reverses that, and now state governments are trying to shut them down again in court. Is this really about protecting the Constitution, or just another move to block Trump's agenda from the bench? Because, well, if a president can't act without lawsuits from the opposition every time, who's actually running the country? Congress? The courts? Or the people who voted for him? Hey, keep those comments coming.
The American tariffs, the new tariffs on steel and aluminum, are unlawful, unjustified, and illogical. I agree with the member. And that is why, one of the reasons why we have retaliatory tariffs on over $90 billion worth of U.S. goods. We are in intensive negotiations with the Americans and in parallel preparing reprisals if those negotiations do not succeed.
Donald Trump is pulling out all the stops. Stay all the way to the end. I would appreciate it. Trump announces that he's doubling down on steel tariffs from 25% to 50%. This morning, the EU announced that they are preparing for countermeasures. Okay. The average steel worker makes $50K, and the people who have been there the longest will make $85,705, which is $41 an hour. Who wants to bet this is because of the taco post that made him do this? I don't know, but we'll see. All steel workers will keep their jobs, and all faculties in the United States will remain open and thriving. The United States steel worker, and they will receive a $5,000 bonus as well. What else can you ask for? The tariff is going to go up. They're going to make more money. We're going to make more money. Everything's beautiful. So I don't know why people just keep going on and on and on about Trump. Trump's doing great things here. One thing I could say is some of these pardons don't make sense, but it's okay. It is what it is. Can't be any worse than what number 46 did. Just saying. So, if you agree Donald Trump's doing the right thing by the steel workers and the American people and the United States, smash the heart, leave a comment, drop a file, FYP, share and repost. We should have over 2,000 likes on this video, no problem, because I know the Trump supporters out there got my back. Stay blessed, more news coming soon.
So what happens now? Will Trump roll back the tariffs under pressure? Or will this become yet another case of populist policy wrapped in a patriotic package that leaves real people picking up the pieces? One thing is certain, the backlash is growing, and Trump's grip on the working class may not be as strong as he thinks. The very people who once cheered him are now questioning whether he's helping them or hanging them out to dry. We'll keep watching this closely, and you can be sure we'll bring you the updates the mainstream won't touch. Before you go, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss the stories that matter. Let us know in the comments. Are you or someone you know affected by Trump's steel tariffs? Do you think these tariffs help or hurt American workers? And of course, massive thanks again to all the journalists, content creators, and truth tellers out there. Your work makes all of this possible. Until next time, stay informed, stay bold, and keep holding power accountable.